Astros fans, it's time for another edition of the Locked On Astros podcast, where all off season we talk Astros baseball. I know Texans fans, it was a end of a season. I know we have maybe a future starter at quarterback, but for right now, do we have a future starter at shortstop? We'll talk about that and more on this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Astros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and Instagram, and at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros. And they can also find articles that I've been writing at. If you go to LarryTheGM.com, check out some things I've been writing, and we'll talk about that later on this show. A little sabermetric that I came up with. But Eric, you've got some things that we need to talk about. I guess the 800-pound gorilla in the room because people have wondered, is Justin Verlander going to be the only big signing that the Astros will do? And what do you have on that for us?
Well, I know that Jake Kaplan has a mailbag article, and it came out this weekend, and a lot of people were like, okay, well, are the Astros going to go after Trevor Story? Are they going to go ahead and sign Carlos Correa? Now that does the lockout help the Astros' chances of signing Carlos Correa? Does yada, yada, yada. And Jake Kaplan basically came out and said that he feels like the Astros have made their big signing of the offseason. So I don't know if that's entirely true, but it does make sense, because if you look at the luxury tax threshold, we don't know if it's going to go up. We don't know if it's going to go down. We don't know what it is right now because they're still in the middle of the labor talks. We'll talk about that in segment 2. But we don't know what the luxury tax threshold is right now. But as of right now, it's less than $20 million that the Astros have to wiggle with. And that's not enough to get yourself a high caliber shortstop and go out in the middle of the season to add to depth. Like if you need another starter, if you need another outfielder, if you need another shortstop, or if you need something to go out and get. So what he was saying is that he feels like basically the Astros may go ahead and just go with somebody in-house to fill out shortstop. And I know that we've been talking about Ledmus Diaz kind of getting the start at the beginning of the season, but he said something that kind of shocked me. And he said that the presumed starter is Jeremy Pena. And he basically alluded to the fact that it's his job to lose.
Here's the thing, and he also mentions in there, because you and I were discussing this before going on air, going live, that he went back to the Miles Straw situation whenever George Springer left, and we didn't have like that, that mainline center fielder. They put Miles Straw out there, who is pretty much, I guess, still kind of unproven, really was trying to make a name for himself. And because up until then, and just reading that blurb and talking to you about it, I really thought that they're really going to have to go with somebody else, give Pena some time to marinate a little bit in AAA, at least till June 10th or whatever that magic date is, to get those at bats because of the broken hand last year. But Jake Kaplan's guess is as good as yours or mine. I mean, right now it's all speculative, but it really does make sense. Ledmus Diaz can fill in. Maybe Pena's your opening day starter, but maybe you give Diaz like half the start. You kind of ease him in. I don't know how they would do that. Or here's the thing, Eric, if you're just going to go in head first and you feel, because of what Pena did in the Dominican League and where he is, of course, we haven't even seen spring training, right? It would be nice to look into the future. And hey, if he comes in spring training, Eric, and he's firing on all cylinders and he's hitting well, there's no reason why you can't allow Pena to start if he's ready. But I will tell you this. I know for a fact that the Houston Astros, James Click, this coaching staff is not going to put a player there where they are going to fail. They're going to put him there if they feel like he can succeed.
Yeah, but here's the problem, though. The Astros don't have anybody who's serviceable at shortstop outside of Ledmus Diaz right now.
You're right.
I mean, you have Alex Bregman and you have other people that could possibly play third base. But if you look at it, there's not really anybody who's super ready. I mean,
So
Pedro
what would
Leon.
you do? So would you go out and get maybe like a midline veteran or someone like that?
Yeah, I'm looking at the free agent list, and you have Jose Iglesias, you have Freddie Galvis, you have Andrelton Simmons, Pete Koza, Devin Mara, and then Andrew Romine. He had like the last four names. None of them are super sexy. Andrelton Simmons is the guy that he's the guy that I would just go out as a backup option. He's a good defender. He's somebody that can come in. But Kaplan pointed out something that Pena is better at shortstop than we give him credit for. A lot of people say that he's more bat than he is defense, but he is pretty good at defense as well. And he may not be as good as a hitter as Carlos Correa is, but he's going to come up and make an impact, whether it be to start the season or what in the middle of the season or that Super 2 deadline. But either way, if he's starting AAA or if he's up at this and to begin the season and Diaz is the backup, you still need that backup shortstop.
Yeah, no, that's true. And like I said, I think only time will tell here. It's all speculative here. We could have 5 different people talk on this topic, and we could literally come up with 5 different scenarios with the same players. The bottom line is this. Is Pena ready to face Major League pitching? Is he ready to take on that position defensively? I believe he is. I believe in range, and I haven't looked back at his numbers. I don't have them on the top of my head, but I believe in range he is pretty close. He's comparable to Carlos. Now, take the word comparable with a grain of salt. I'm not saying he's Carlos Correa. You're talking about a platinum glove winner, Eric. You're talking about the greatest shortstop to play in an Astros uniform. And there's been some pretty good shortstop come through. Not at the level of Carlos Correa, but we've had some guys put on a glove in the uniform at shortstop and do very, very well. You know, Craig Reynolds, Adam Everett, guys like that. But Carlos Correa, you're not replacing him. You didn't replace Springer, but y'all got to remember this. Our center field position with McCormick and with Straw, before Myers got here, had one of the best WARs of any center field in the major leagues. So we don't have to have the platinum gold glove caliber player to get by. Now, it's not the same. There's going to be some drop off, but they're only going to put him there if they believe he's ready. They're not going to throw him to the fire if he's not ready. But don't forget Kyle Tucker's slow start. Don't forget Alex Bregman's slow start. Remember when Alex Bregman came out, he was like 0 for 27 at the plate, and there was like, oh, Bregman, and then Kyle Tucker. There were people like, I don't even know, the guy looks lazy, and he's turned into be one of the best right fielders. Alex Bregman, I mean, he should have won the MVP the year he was second. So I think only time will tell right now.
Okay, what if I told you there's a shortstop available with a career batting average of 277 and an OPS of 700 and a slugging percentage of 382 and a batting and a on base percentage of 318? Would you sign a guy if he's 32 years old, I believe?
Depending on how many years he wants, because Pena is in the wings. Is this a guy that we're going to have to sign for 2 or 3 years, or is this a guy we're going to sign on a 1-year deal? Because I don't know who it is.
It's Jose Iglesias. He actually had a pretty decent 2021.
But is Jose Iglesias going to want a 2 or 3? You know what I'm saying? Is he?
I don't think he's in a position to get that long of a deal. He may want a 2-year deal, but even if he gets a 2-year deal, he may be he may have a 1-year deal with a team option for the 2nd-year deal or second year or something like that, or he has to reach certain incentives. Because if you look at the last 2 years. He was with here's his last 3 years. He was Cincinnati, Baltimore, Boston, LA.
Yeah.
He's been around.
He has. Hey man, he's seen it all. He's seen the ball leave the pitching mound in different angles. He's seen the ball come off the bat in different ballparks.
Yeah.
You know, here is, I think, Eric, and I think it's a good suggestion to bring in a backup. What if you don't get a backup, and what if Diaz is healthy? What if Diaz
Yeah.
stays healthy? I know his health is a big question mark. I think if Diaz is healthy and he can come in and he can provide a solid bat, that's a decent enough bridge, because here's the thing. If they do rely on Diaz, I don't think it's long before Pena comes up, I should say.
Yeah, I
if
know,
he doesn't start.
But Robel Garcia is not here anymore. You can't bring him up. You need a backup, even if it's Diaz.
Hey, you mentioned him, not me.
I'm just saying you can't.
And the first
can't
mention of
have
Robel Garcia on this show was Eric Huysman.
You can't have enough Built Bars. That's all I'm saying. You got to have some backups. And go and tell us a little bit about Built Bar.
Yeah, maybe you need a Built Bar because you were talking about Robel. It's all good, man. It's all good. So here's the deal. Built Bar is an amazing protein bar. It is wrapped in 100% chocolate. It is a protein bar, but it's really a candy bar, right? So Built Bar makes this bar that has low calories, low sugar, low grams of net carbs, and like 17 grams of protein. I mean, how can you beat that? Your average candy bar's got twice the calories, like 3 times the sugar, and a ton of carbs. And why would you want to do that to yourself? This is the new year, the new you, 2022. You are hitting the gym. You are taking the workout to the next level. And even if you're not, you can be consistent with the Built Bar. It's as easy as putting one in your bag, eating it as a snack, or before or after your workout. They're better than ever before. Built Bar has all kinds of crazy things. They got Built broth. We actually used that the other day to make some chicken soup when it got cold in Texas, like 40 degrees. So here we go. I want you to stash the Built Bars in the fridge like we have them. The flavors like salted caramel, mint brownie, cookies, and cream. So go to Built.com and use a promo code LOCKS15 for 15% off your order. Use a promo code LOCKS15 for 15% off at Built.com. Tell them that H-Town Wheelhouse and Eric the Man Huysman sent you.
All right. I know that Iglesias was sent to the minor leagues in October before the playoffs. And maybe that was to basically just to open roster spot. I don't know. Yeah, he was outrighted. So to get off the 40-man roster. So, I think that at this point, maybe just to get a 1-year deal, just to kind of prove himself. If that's all it is, I could see the Astros doing something like that. But before we can even talk about that, I think we need to talk about what the heck is going on with the lockout. Is there any talks going on? Last we heard, there wasn't any type of talk. No. But apparently Rob Manfred or Manfred, or I'm just kidding.
Oh, but, wow.
Just kidding. But apparently Major League Baseball is preparing a new core economic proposal to deliver to the Players Association. And when it's presented later this month, it's gonna restart the discussions, and hopefully it's gonna have some positive development. And it does not mean that everything's gonna magically poof. Everything's gonna be better.
So is this one of those, as the old adage goes, no news is good news?
I guess so. But they're not saying that it's going to basically fix everything, but they're saying that it's at least some type of movement to the positive direction, that the owners are working on something to kind of get the talks going again. But it's better than something. But like I was reading this article in The Athletic, and a former NBA official or high-ranking person said that the point of a lockout generally is to impose economic pressure, and it's not going to happen in the beginning because people aren't feeling it. They're not getting paid. The season hasn't started. So if the point of it is to impose the economic pressure, then yeah, in theory, it's not going to be really effective until you get to the end. So basically he's saying until the players starts hitting their pocketbook, then the players aren't going to really react to it, and they're not going to panic yet.
Yeah, and that would worry me, but since I'm a glass half full and I'm always positive, always Strohs Eric, I also think that the pressure also falls on the owners. And the reason why I say that is because if you look at the 2020 shortened season, I still think they're feeling economic blows from that season. And clubs can ill afford to lose games. Clubs cannot afford to lose all of spring training. Clubs cannot afford to lose games in a stadium, because what happens if you lose games in the season and then all of a sudden you have some outbreak or some spread or some new variant comes out late in the season, and then you lose more games? You see what I'm saying? They've got to be looking long term here and project out the effect of their bottom line, because yeah, the players won't be getting paid and they'll feel pressured. But I think the owners, I think in this situation, and I may be wrong, but to me, both of them have the pressure to put a product on the field for the fans to see, because we know that Major League Baseball owners make money when people are coming in and out of the gates. They're not making money. Now, they're saving a ton of money by not paying the players, but they're also not making any money. So they're not helping their bottom line. I do think the closer it gets, both sides are going to become more and more expedient about what it is. But this is a great point. This is to apply economic pressure. The players want more piece of the pie. The owners don't. The owners are like, we lost a ton of money. The players are like, yeah, well, you know what? We want to be free agents sooner. We don't want to wait till we're nearly 30 to be a free agent. That's not right. I mean, it's different if a player plays into 24, 25 in college and then becomes a pro. That's a whole different story. But what about these kids coming out of high school? They're the only ones that really benefit because they're 24, 25 when they come out. So the bottom line is this, and I'll wrap my point up here, Eric. I think pressure lies on both. I think the owners, because of 2020, had you not had that season shortened, I don't think I think it would all be on the players. But I think it's about a 60-40 split here.
Yeah. So basically, what the NBA source said is that basically, in a type of discussion like this, is why give up your best negotiation? Why give up your best if you know you're willing to concede at this little thing? Why give it up right now when you don't have to? You don't know exactly what the players are going to overly agree to. So why give your best offer up front? Because you're still trying to get what like Rob Manfred's trying to get what's best for the owners. Tony Clark is trying to get what's best for the players, and the players really don't want they don't want the salary cap. They want to kind of get rid of that, the whole luxury tax threshold. That they think that's holding back player salaries, because we've seen in the past. I know also the limiting of like the controlling of the player's years by the George Springer rule, by keeping him down, and that kind of gets an extra year of team control. That's what the players are looking for. So the players are asking for a lot, and the owners are like, you know what? The players are asking for a lot here, and we don't have to give up a lot. So let's just kind of wait here. And then the players are just like, are we asking for too much here? Should we kind of stop asking for this?
I remember, and I don't remember if I heard a player say this, where I heard it, if a player said something to us, or if I just heard on an interview, they're not going to counter offer their offer. Like, their offer's on the table. The owners have already nixed that offer. So when Rob Manfred says we're putting together a package, basically they're putting together their counter offer, and they're going to wait till the 11th hour to present that offer again, to apply pressure to the players. But I still think that pressure lies on both. I still do think that at the end of the day, the owners need this regular season to be complete. Because here's the other problem. Let's think about the impact injury-wise. If you shorten spring training, if you move the season, if you shorten the season, if you do anything to alter the season, you get everybody off of their time clock. You get everybody off of their timetable. And if you thought injuries were bad last season, you're going to continue to see this domino effect. And I think that at the end of the day, like Jay Roberts says, he's like, so who flinches first? I think the owners flinch first. I'm just going to be real honest, because even if the owners give up more, Eric, like they're really not giving. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think the owners or the players flinch first? I think it's a tough
Well,
call.
the owners are coming off a season where, I mean, 2020, I guess. Well, not coming off, but 2 seasons ago,
Right.
they lost a lot of money in 2020. But also, they are multi-millionaires or billionaires. They have money to kind of cover themselves. A lot of these players, like who's why can't I never like Chaz McCormick?
Okay.
He's making league minimum. I mean, granted, league minimum is more than you and I would make in 2 or 3 years teaching, but still, that's not a lot of it's still a lot, not a lot of money for the lifestyle they try to live. So a lot of these kind of guys making league minimum, they're gonna kind of be like, okay, guys, Verlander, let's kind of give in. I know you're making all 25 million, but we're not making 25 million. So I can
Well,
see the players kind of,
true.
but the players, the whole reason we're doing this is for those guys too.
And it's mainly, and the reason why the players want to be able to become a free agent sooner, number one, they want their value. Like they want to go for the big contract when they have more value, when they're at the peak. They don't want to wait till they're 28, 29. They want to get it when they're 24. And I mean, think about it. In the minor leagues, Major League Baseball just now started saying they're gonna provide housing and all that stuff. But still, some of them making like 20, 28,000. I mean, they're not making very much money, Eric. And if they have families, they have to live in an apartment. They have to move around. If they get traded, they got to go to another state. I mean, the life of a minor league player is not as glamorous as you think it is. And maybe sometime between now and then, we need to have. I know I've got some minor leaguers that I'm just talking to here and there. I'm trying to match up our schedules with theirs, trying to get them on, and maybe that's something that someone would be willing to open up about, or even bring in Clay on, because when I think like professional athlete, like you think tons of money, right? Like we think about the number one draft picks, we think about the Kyler Murrays and the JJ Watts and all the big the recent Wander Franco. We think about these guys, but what we don't think about are the guys that are in the minor leagues that haven't made that major league salary. That when their 5 or 6 years is up with the club, someone's not going to offer them a $200 million contract. You know what I'm saying? Now they'll get a big contract, they'll get good money, but they've got to wait a long time for that. And some guys' careers tank, or they stay career minor leaguers. And I think you give more incentive to the players as an owner if you give them more money sooner.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just we can go on and on about this, and it's hard to really know what's going on. And I think it's like the players are betting that the other side's gonna kind of fold, and then the team's betting that the players are gonna fold. So I don't know. So speaking of betting, let's talk about BetOnline.ag.
So betonline.ag is the company that we tell you to go to. Why? Because it is a new betting year, and it's 2022, and sports wagering is at an all-time high. I mean, people are making money hand over fist. And here's the thing. With betonline.ag, they've got experts that will tell you they've got the earliest betting lines. We've even talked to one of the guys who runs this site, and they get the lines out before anybody. If you act now and sign up today, you'll receive 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use a promo code Locked On to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
All right, so I know that going back to Jake Kaplan article, he mentioned that it's not likely that they'll go after any high dollar free agents, but he did mention some wild card players: Chris Bryant, Nick Castellanos, and Michael Conforto were 3 names that he mentioned. Maybe possibility of moving Kyle Tucker from right field to center was an option, but I mean, I still don't see those two names, but because we're only those three names, just because you only have like maybe realistically 18 million to work with and to fit underneath the luxury tax threshold that we know of, unless it goes up. But which one of those names would you be the most interested in?
Probably Simmons, just because of his glove. I know what kind of defense is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about those wild card outfielders.
Oh, the outfit. I'm sorry. I'm sitting there. Hold on.
Say you
Hold on.
don't listen to me.
Hey, no,
Wait,
hey,
I'll tell me you don't listen to me.
Stop. Give me the names again. I was stuck. Sorry. I'm over here stuck on a conversation on the right side.
Chris
Go ahead.
Bryant, Nick Castellanos, and Michael Conforto.
We don't get any of them. They want too much money.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, like, in a
Michael Conforto. I wouldn't. Chris Bryant's going to want too much money. Castellanos going to want too much money. Conforto's the man. He's underrated. He's a great player. I would take him in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Hey, thank you, Dan. I appreciate it. Oh, I'm sorry, Joshua. Thank you for the compliment. He said, Brett, you have the best promo voice I've ever heard. Well, thank you so much, Josh.
Next on the Locked On Astros podcast.
Hey, Eric, here in a second, I want to kind of throw out there just something I've been doing because I've kind of recently got back into writing. Can we do that or get to that here in a few minutes?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I just started writing for LarryTheGM.com, and I like many baseball fans. Now, I consider myself an avid fan and an experienced fan. But a lot of times when I try to get into sabermetrics, I get frustrated because, like a lot of people, I'm the old school average, OPS, but I don't look at all the ins and the outs. And so I basically wrote an article, and I titled it H-Town Wheelhouse Declares War on Sabermetrics. And I created my own sabermetric, and it's called HWar. And all I did was I wanted to find out who was the best position player at each position for the Astros all time. In my second base article, I basically choose Biggio, I choose Bill Doran, I choose Altuve, and Joe Morgan. No other second baseman has enough years. So what I do is I take their 4 highest WAR years, Eric, I add them together. I take their worst WAR year and add that. If it's a negative number, it takes a number away, and I give a total HWar. Okay. Like BWAR is Baseball Reference, FWAR is Fangraphs, HWAR is H-Town Wheelhouse's metric. For me, it gave me a more simplistic way to compare baseball players between era, okay, from era to era. One of the things I pointed out in my second base article was that it was a little unfair for Joe Morgan to be lumped in here because he didn't hit his peak until he got to the Red Sox. From in 74 and 75, he won the MVP 2 years in a row, and that's when they won. That was the Big Red Machine. They won the 2 World Series. So if Morgan would have been more in the I guess driver's seat of his career at that time, his HWAR would have been higher. But the best second baseman of all time, I won't tell you. I'm just going to tell you it was close. And it's between Biggio and Altuve. You've got to go to LarryTheGM.com, look for the greatest second baseman in Astros history. Some of y'all might be surprised. But I figured what I would do is I would try to figure out a way that I could look at sabermetrics and I could look at WAR and things like that and just break it down. Because a lot of times when you compare players from different eras, I don't think that's a good way to measure it. So the way I did was we'll take their 4 best years statistically in their worst year, combine them, and then make that your total barometer for how you gauge that person. And the 4 years, I picked Biggio's 4 best years at second, not at any other position. And so they have to have at least 4 years at that one position. So I've done first base, I've done second base. Next I'm going to shortstop, then third. I'll hit the outfield. I'll slowly get to the pitchers. The pitchers going to be a little tougher because there's a lot more. But I've had a lot of fun. And one of the funnest players I had writing about, Eric, was Bill Doran. I didn't realize, he was my hero growing up, but I didn't realize until now, as an adult, how good he really was. And he had a couple seasons where he was an absolute stud second baseman, and he's one of those underappreciated guys that's not really talked about a lot. So thanks for letting me share that, guys. Check it out. I've got my first base article. I got my second base article up at LarryTheGM.com. I would love for y'all to check that out.
All right, to kind of close out the show, I know we had to talk earlier about the backup shortstop or starting shortstop or whatever you want to talk about. I know I mentioned Jose Iglesias, but a lot of people in chat have been mentioning Andrelton Simmons, and I know you mentioned that too, Brett, but I really think Simmons is probably going to be the guy. He is the James Click, Tampa Bay Rays type of guy, the guy who who's probably not going to ask for a lot of money. Last year, he batted 223 with 3 home runs, 31 RBIs. He's not going to be your starter. He's really going to be a backup guy, somebody who's going to come in and just do what you need to do. He's not going to block Jeremy Pena. He's not going to block Ledmus Diaz. He could be a defensive replacement. He could be that. He's exactly what the Astros could need. Jose Iglesias is good defensively. He's all rightish offensively. So, but I don't know how many years he could be asking for. But I think Simmons would be the best choice at this point if they don't go out and get one of those big time names, which I don't think they have the room in their budget. So, guys, that's all we got for tonight. We'll be back with another edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. You got anything else, Brett?
No, just make sure that y'all stay tuned in. If you've subscribed to us, tell 3 people about us this week, and be looking for interviews coming up. Just to let y'all know, we are constantly reaching out to people, and if any of y'all that listen are in any kind of sales, you know that sales is more.
Oops.
And that's okay. Sales is more about waiting and, timing. And so we have a lot of players that have shown interest, a lot of former players that have shown interest, and it's just about lining up schedules and routines and getting them on. So, keep sharing us, share our big time interviews with people, because we do love interviewing players and we appreciate the interaction online. We appreciate you listening. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check us out on Locked On Astros.
And make us your first listen, whether it's on YouTube. Keep on subscribing, keep on listening to us on Spotify, YouTube. Odyssey, wherever you listen to your podcast. Listen to Locked On Astros podcast, and we'll be back again tomorrow.